have had deep insights into several aspects of women empowerment. We had intellectual speakers across discipline, from local and national level, to enlighten us. Thank you, all of you. I believe what Swami Vivekananda once said: there is no chance of the welfare of the world unless the condition of women is improved. It is not possible for a bird to fly on one wing. It is sad that women since ages have been struggling to be socially and professionally recognized as equivalent to men. Moving ahead with our valedictory function, I now take this opportunity to invite and welcome the dignitaries on the dais. So first of all, I would request our chairperson, Dr. Shamba Ghosh, to please come up on dais and take her seat. Thank you, ma'am. May I now request our chief guest, Dr. Anuradha Singh, to please come up on dais and take her seat. Thank you so much, ma'am. I request our chief organizer, Father Professor T. Nishant S.J., to please come up on dais and take his seat. Thank you, Father. Last but not the least, I would request our co-convener, Mr. Piyush Ranjan Sahai, to come and take his seat on the dais. Thank you, sir. We are happy to have with us our chief organizer, Father Professor T. Nishant S.J., to formally welcome the eminent panel on the dais. Father Nishant, the principal of St.Xavier's colleges, is indeed a man of integrity, an able leader, a good friend, and a wonderful human being. Father Nishant is an MA in Sociology from Delhi University and a PhD from Mumbai University. His dissertation was on the Musahar's cultural life as a Dalit community in Bihar. He has a considerable experience in teaching English as a second language and sociology, which he has taught at the postgraduate level for consecutive 11 years, before taking over as the principal of St. Xavier's Colleges, Patna. Over to you, Father.
Thank you, Deepika. Dear friends, as we have come to the concluding session of the two-day SEX National Seminar, it's important that we spend a few minutes in placing the valuable thoughts, ideas and insights in the right perspective, which we have received through our paper presentations, discussions and deliberations. While attempting to do this, we have with us distinguished guests to help us in this difficult task. Permit me to welcome the chief guest of the valedictory function, Dr. Anuradha Singh, Associate Professor in English Department, A.M. College, Patna. After having completed most of her higher education in Delhi University, she taught in some well-known colleges in Delhi, like G. St. Mary College and Lady Sri Ram College. She has authored several research articles as well as books. She is very much involved in the noble task of empowering women through an NGO called Shilpi. Thank you very much for being with us. May I now request Father Sebastian Alford, CSJ, the control of examination, to offer a floral bouquet and memento to welcome her. Father Sebastian? Not here? Okay, Father Sushil, our former vice principal, is here. I request you to come over. Thank you, Father. I would like to welcome the chairperson of the valedictory function, Ms. Shamba Ghosh, Dr. Shamba Ghosh, Associate Professor, Department of English, College of Commerce, Patna. She is a motivated trainer, so many training sessions she has conducted, and a seasoned teacher with excellent academic record with 38 years of experience in the field of higher education. The long introduction to her. So we are indeed very happy to have you with us, and my request, Father Dr. Rajkumar, SJ, the Administrator and Library Director of our colleges, to offer her a bouquet and a memento. It is indeed a matter of pride and joy that many delegates came over to present papers. Your contribution in making this seminar a fruitful one is significant, especially our own students presented papers. It's a matter of pride for us. I extend a warm welcome to all the delegates, dignitaries, and also to our dear students. I also take this opportunity to thank the convener, Ms. Mala Upadhyay, and the co-convener, Mr. Piyush Sahai, and all others who worked very hard to make this seminar a successful one. Jai Hind, Jai Xaviers.
Father, thank you for doing the honors. Now I request one of our delegates, Dr. Nawab Akram, to come up on stage and share his experience in St. Xavier's colleges over the last 2 days. Dr. Nawab Akram is an assistant professor at International School of Management, Khagol, Patna. Prior to that, he was associated with Ellen Mishra Institute of Economic Development and Social Change. As research scholar and visiting faculty for more than 5 years, he has rich experience of more than 10 years in the field of teaching and academic research. Sir, I request you to please come and share your experience.
Dear delegates and friends, allow me to warmly thank the organizers for this important national conference. For me, it is an honor and a privilege. I would also like to thank them for having brought us together in such a wonderful campus with nice ambience, facilitated with greenery and really healthy air to breathe in a city like Patna. To revision the identities and to rebuild strategies for making participatory society through women empowerment. Women empowerment is indeed one of the most frequently used terms in development dialogue today. It is a widely interpreted concept which has simultaneously become a tool for analysis and also an umbrella concept to justify development theories. It is an ongoing and dynamic process to enhance women's abilities with a view to make them at par with men. Put in dynamic process to enhance, put in the light of perspective, power refers to the self-confidence, self-awareness and assertiveness. But in practice we find that women at large are facing gender discrimination and sexual harassment in every walk of life, be it at offices, institutions, factories, building sites, means of transports, thoroughfare, or any other areas. As we all have recently witnessed Me Too campaign in today's world, which has ruffled many of feathers of elite men's dignity worldwide. The issue of sexual harassment and gender discrimination of working women has blown the lid of the claims of women empowerment on one side. Though it is out of the context, but here I'd like to mention that even one cannot ignore the fact that even within the safe confines of the home, women are facing sexual abuse and gender discrimination rampantly. Last 2 days, we dedicated to cover a wide spectrum of themes and sub-themes related to women empowerment, revisioning identities and building strategies for a participatory society. The conference was composed of 20 sub-themes and many other related but relevant to the focal theme, divided into 4 technical sessions with 3+2 tracks a day. So altogether 10 sessions were connected, and thereby tackles important topics related to themes and sub-themes. I am very much sure that each one of us must have identified the sub-themes of our interest and our discussion to enrich each other's knowledge. As an assistant professor of marketing management at the International School of Management, Khagor, Patna, I am very much concerned about the participation of girls and women as a marketer for different industries and sectors, and for both rural and urban counterparts. Because I have noticed in the recent past, some of the companies like, ITC, even HUL, they are hiring so many postgraduate students for rural marketing, but they are clearly saying that we are not going to consider girl candidates. So, here at least by attending this conference, I am particularly happy because at least I have come to know that how and what are the tools that can be utilized or that can be used to convince even the industry people or the representative of many companies and even my girl students who are not opting marketing as a major. So within these 2 days, I have learned many things that is going to not only help me, even I am going to take it to the industry people, and probably I am going to bring certain changes for sure. Still I am associated with LM as visiting faculty, so even I can use it over there also. I had wonderful experience to witness the discussion on such themes and sub-themes, which has been a comprehensive knowledge and that will help me to motivate the students for, that's why I have said. And I hope the same for other delegates also, and the researchers or the persons, as per their concern or their areas, they might have got some, ideas or the knowledge, or they might have experienced something which is going to help them to deal with such issues in their institutions or in their areas. I must congratulate the convener, Ms. Mada Kumari Upadhyay, co-convener, Mr. Piyush Ranjan Sahai, organizer, respected Father Dr. T. Nishant S.J., and all the members of St.Xavier's College of Management and Technology, Patna, for organizing such a wonderful, world-bearing national conference. Before saying thank you, I must express my profound gratitude to all the dignitaries sitting on the dais, especially Dr. Anuradha Sen, Chief Guest, and Dr. Shampa Ghosh, Chairperson of this valedictory session, and all the other dignitaries who are sitting in front of me. Thank you for paying attention and patient hearing.
May I request our another delegate, Dr. Bhavna Sinha, Head of the Department of MCA, Patna Women's College. She is also the member of IQAC, Patna Women's College, to please come up on stage and share her experience in St. Xavier's colleges over the last 2 days.
A very good afternoon to all present here, especially Professor Father Nishant, our chairperson, chief guest, the convener and the co-convener of the seminar, Dr. Mala Upadhyay and Mr. Piyush. I'm not a very good speaker since I'm from a technical background. And today I came to know that I have to put my ideas over here, my experience I have to share. So it was a difficult task for me since I didn't get any time to go through the speech and to prepare my speech. So I thought that I'll speak about my experience. So I really want to thank all of you for the hospitality and the way this seminar was conducted, the punctuality, the time limitations for the seminars, and the topics which were covered over here as a sub-theme in this Women Empowerment seminar. So I think I don't need to say anything about women empowerment since we can see that our chief guest and the guest of honor over here on the dais are the women, and the speakers in the seminars, most of the majority of the speakers were women participants who spoke there about women empowerment. And the topics which were discussed during those technical sessions, like one of the topic which I came today in the second half of the session was gender bias in the workplace, and it was in context to men, not women, that men should get some special feature and some special privilege, that they are working there and they are not getting proper response in context to women. So this shows that we are already in a process of women empowerment. Women are getting empowered, but a lot has to be done in this area. And since looking after the rural background people, the women, we really need to work hard. And the main thing which is needed over there is to spread the awareness. And by conducting such kind of seminars, workshops, we can come to a conclusion that what are the steps which can be taken apart to spread this awareness, and how to make the women literate so that they can work for themselves. We don't need any kind of reservation to empower ourselves. It's not that we are weak and we need some kind of reservation. This is only the thing that women are self-empowered, and the society has to know this, that we are self-empowered, and if we can work so well in all the constraints which we are getting, like there are many social constraints. If we are working, then also we have to fulfill all the responsibilities to cope up with the family and the work culture over here. And those who are homemaker, they have to just go through this, that they are not working at all, but they are giving the 24-hour service to the family. And it's a matter of thinking that they are not simply not capable of doing that. They are managing their job in a very sufficient and efficient manner. And that has to be come to the society, that we are empowered enough, we are self-efficient to take care of all the responsibilities which are given to us. And for that, I think this kind of seminars is needed, so that a proper discussion, a platform is given to all, so that we can have a discussion on that. So that's all from my side. I thanks once again to all the delegates over here, and the convener, and the rest of the people who are behind the success of this seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your appreciation and valuable insights. May I now invite the co-convener, Mr. Piyush Ranjan Sahai, who is also the coordinator of the Department of Business Administration, to read his report. Sir.
Good afternoon to our chief guest, Dr. Anuradha Singh, Associate Professor, Department of English in College Patna. Chairperson for this session, Dr. Shampa Ghosh, Associate Professor, Department of English, College of Commerce, Patna. Organizing Committee Chair, Father Dr. T. Nishant S.J. Delegate, Dr. Nawab Akram, Assistant Professor, International School of Management, Patna. Dr. Bhavna Sinha, Head Department of MCA, Patna Women's College. Paper presenters, participants, invited guests, colleagues and students. I extend my gratitude and heartfelt thanks to all of you for being an integral part of this seminar 2019 and making it a success with your presence and contribution in the form of your views, your ideas, your approach and your intellectual inputs. My compliments to Dr. Professor Daisy Narayan, Head Department of History, Patna University, for her keynote address, which actually set the stage for our two-day deliberation. I am grateful to all my colleagues, friends who chaired the different technical sessions. Coming to the theme of our seminar, Women Empowerment, Revisiting Identities and Building Strategies for a Participatory Society, I believe empowerment is about being given authority and power to do something, and within the discussions and different technical sessions we organized, we learned that empowerment is all about becoming stronger and confident. Empowerment again means to become aware of one's rights and privileges. Empowerment also means the ability to control one's life in a more meaningful and fulfilling ways. During the discussion, we came to know that what is the definition of a woman. According to Greek mythology, humans were originally created with 4 arms, 4 legs, and a head with 2 faces. Fearing the power, God split them into 2 separate parts and punished them to spend their entire life in search of the other part. Well, I don't think anyone would like to have 4 legs anymore. But the story reveals one ultimate truth regarding men and women relationship, that is, men and women complements each other. Within the ambit of our national seminars theme, we discussed about women in media and communication, gender and socio-economic situation, the role of constitution, financial literacy, impact of gender equality, and that actually provided a platform to understand the future. Summing all the presentations in few minutes is nearly impossible, though I am trying. The discussion started with women empowerment through media and communication, image of women in media, the use of media in accelerating the voice of women in Patna, the structure of economy, gender discrimination at workplace, schemes and strategies for women empowerment in Patna. Papers were also presented on the role of constitution, law, government, and especially the role of women in empowering the women. During this seminar, we discussed about domestic obligations, we discussed about the financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and the role of state government, especially in terms of safety. We also came to know during the presentation that India is not safe for women. We also discussed about the life, image, and effects of literature on women's life. We talked about women in information technology, the effect of Internet of the Things in their lives. So, surely women empowerment is a reality. But, is it enough? There are more works to be done. Without doubt, there are many places where the voice of women is still not heard. Discrimination still exists. Even in the corporates, we talk about the glass ceiling. Domestic violence, dowry, gender discrimination, the list of negatives can go on. But there is a hope. The voice of women still be heard, loud and clear, in spite of attempts to silence them. More stories of women empowerment are being scripted in every village and city, not only in our state and nation, but across the boundaries. It can be very well be transforming the reality into the present. A conclave like this, magnitude so the sharpest being together, thereby creating a plethora of perspective, views, ideas, informations and innovations. It is a platform for scholars to share their views and for the researchers to move ahead, adding value to these views, for students to understand and the world of knowledge and to discover the new possibilities and new solutions. I am thankful. This was our 6th national seminar, and I hope and look forward your continued cooperation and even greater participation next year in our seminar. And I want to end my report with 2 lines. आसान कहाँ है एक औरत की कहानी लिख देना. आसान कहाँ है एक औरत की कहानी लिख देना. आसान कहाँ है पानी पर पानी से पानी लिख देना. Thank you.
I am reminded of a very famous quotation by Sister Coretta Kent, an American Roman Catholic religious sister, artist and educator, who once said, "Women's liberation is the liberation of the feminine in the man and masculine in the woman." With this quote, may I now invite our chief guest, Dr. Anuradha Singh, to come here and address all of us. Dr. Singh, she's an associate professor, Department of English, in College, Patna. Dr. Singh has done her MPhil from the University of Delhi, after which she taught at Sri Venkateshwara College, Jesus and Mary College, and Lady Shri Ram College. She moved to Patna after her marriage, where she completed her doctoral thesis from Patna University on the topic, The Anti-Hero in Fiction and Drama. She has been teaching undergraduate and postgraduate courses in English literature since 1996 at universities including Patna University and Magadh University. She has authored research articles in several academic journals as well as books including Rabindranath Tagore, The Living Presence and Indian Woman, Problems and Concerns. Her area of interest include feminism, cinema and eco-criticism in literature. Dr. Singh also runs an NGO called Shilpi, which facilitates income generation for poor women through hand embroidery. She is associated with many charitable organizations such as Mahila Imdad and Bihar Council of Women. She is also the secretary of Working Women's Association, which runs a charitable school named Sishu Niketan. Ma'am, I request you to please come here and address all of us.
A very good afternoon, Principal Nishant sir, and the conveners Mala Upadhyay and Piyush Ranjan Sahai, colleagues, dear students, participants, a very good afternoon to all of you. At the outset, I must compliment principal and the conveners for the way in which the Xavier's conferences are conducted. Everything running on schedule, minor details addressed and perfected. I love coming here. I have presented papers here and chaired sessions here. Just one little note before I begin. We're talking about women's empowerment, and Dr. Bhavna Sinha said that the way to view empowerment, we've been talking about empowerment, but I think the term is often misused as something that someone endows on someone inferior. And she said that the empowerment lies right within. And I think the content of my paper is moving towards that. It is about the recovery of self-esteem. So through these 2 days, researchers and scholars have come up with many discourses in the empowerment paradigm, and we have seen paradigm shifts in the way women are viewed and power in women is viewed. Some deliberations felt that women needed to have more seats in parliament, they needed to have more leadership and powerful positions to crack the deadlock of centuries of subservience. Some felt empowerment would come through economic independence. Some felt that sisterhood and women's bonding would bring that empowerment. The papers from literature, one of them on myth, where women nowadays are rewriting the old myths, retelling the myths from the woman's point of view, and much to the chagrin of men, I'm sure, the men are now in the margins and the women have moved to the center. So you have the Ramayana being told from Sita's perspective, and Ram is somewhere in the sidelines. So that's interesting, but certainly gives a new perspective to society and women. But among all the discourses, conspicuous by its absence was the addressing of the matter of sexual violence against women. And there can be no social justice and no empowerment without this. And this, of all times, is a historic moment when many stars have come together, and it is the most significant global challenge to make sexual claims on women's bodies is in full swing and shows no signs of abating. And I'm talking of the Me Too wave. Women have to publicly bleed and bear their wounds to be heard. But the public silence, I think, over this kind of violence against women, it is violence, is I think over. And everyone's treating it very seriously. The UN, United Nations Gender Cell is addressing this very seriously, and they are going into policy and they are meeting governments. They're giving out policy papers on how to address this as a very important issue. It's not one of the side issues people laugh about, oh, women. It's not like that anymore. And Google has a Google map, Me Too Google map, where if you press any of the buttons, depending on the country, you will get all the literature, the movies, the headlines regarding that country and how Me Too has taken shape there. This movement brings to light the slow but steady recovery of self-esteem of women, and the protest is very important. It is a demand for a new world order. Women have discovered their voice and their courage and their inner strength and self-esteem. Self-esteem is self-discovery. When the self is recognized, valued, discovered and esteemed, women will feel empowered. Now I have two stories to substantiate my contention. One is a happy story and one is a sad story. Now the happy story. The happy story is this movement which began in Ahmedabad, and Ela Bhatt, who was a Gandhian labor organizer in 1971. There were these women construction workers who would carry the baskets and they would make this human chain and the bricks would go, and they were at the lowest rung of the labor chain. No one one regarded them, but they were indispensable. They were garbage pickers, there were women who would recycle things, employed women, but no one regarded them. The authorities and the journalists would talk about it, women shouldn't do such hard work, it is too strenuous, and the women would smile and, just ignore them and think that, we get a little, modicum of independence and voice because of this little income we have. They had no faith in the system. Ela Bhatt, in 1971, sits down with these women, doesn't talk from on top. She mingles with the women and she finds out what they want. And they come up with, we want creches for our children, we want better pay for our handwork, we want banks to store our money in, we want protection from police who want bribes, etc., etc. So, they still didn't have hope. Nobody helps us. What will this lone woman do for us? But Ela Bhatt by 1978 had SEVA running. SEVA means service, and it's an acronym for Self-Employed Women's Association, and the rest is history. It's one of the strongest trade unions, I think, the world over. It is huge. I don't know numbers. The statistics I read are absolutely huge. There are SEVA places all over the world, the Lucknow chicken weavers, so on and so forth, it's all over. Now this is a happy story. What women can do, women realized. It is, how did this happen? How did they develop this faith in Ela Bhatt and did what she did? So there is this incident where once she got them consolidated and organized, she decided these women need to go for a trip. They have never been outside Ahmedabad. So after much persuasion, they'd never been away from Ahmedabad, they had never been away from their family, and without their family, unheard of. But she organizes these women and they hire a rickety old bus and off they go. She decided I must go to a Hindu pilgrim center. So everything goes very smoothly till they realize that they have to cross a river to get to the temple. Menstruating women are not allowed to go to a temple. So that's that. Ela Bhatt convinces them and she somehow manages and tells them that you go, let's leave it to the river and fate, cross. And they cross and they give their fruits and flowers in the temple, some women outside, some women inside, and nothing happens. Then they take the boat and come back, and what is their fear? That if we go against the traditions, then all of us will drown, we'll die, and this will be God's punishment on us. And they come back, and nothing happens. And it's a victory. Because for the first time, they defied the rules that denigrated them. You're soiled, you're dirty, almost ostracized because you menstruate. They got over that. Thereafter, they realized that if our bodies are not dirty, then what we do, the work we do, is also worthy of respect. Even if it's picking garbage or, the ordinary things they do. See, birth of self-esteem. And they discover the power of collective endeavor, enabling of others and self. This is the birth of self-esteem. The world devalued them. They had no reason to value themselves. So this has to come from inside. Nobody's going to tell you, you're worthy. It reminds me of that ad where Aishwarya Rai is trying to sell a cosmetic product and says that you're worth it. There's no one to tell them you're worth it. Women have to decide for themselves and express themselves in whichever way. This is happening slowly. We see this happening. There is change. So this is a good story, a happy story. Now the sad story. It is the story of Marilyn Monroe, whose actual name was Norma Jean Baker. Hollywood star, sex symbol, very rich, very powerful. She's known for her childlike sex goddess image. That is how she was perceived by the male gaze. the male gaze defined her. But she commits suicide at age 36. Amazing. Why? She had everything, one would imagine. So, the reason for this is again, she had everything that, the glamour and everything that one would want. But nobody recognized the woman with the soul and the heart and she was just a body. She was treated like she had no mind. And she had to act that childlike expression and the dumb look, in fact the stereotype of the dumb blonde and all that. So she was caught in a vicious cycle actually. The very thing that gave her money, power, fame, fortune, visibility is the very thing which ruined her actually. So she married Arthur Miller, who's a very famous American playwright, and of course they got divorced. And he talks about her pathetic insecurities and mysterious lack of confidence. Imagine someone like her. The whole world adored her. She was a star. She had money, she had power, everything. This was not logic. It was just low self-esteem. She had internalized society's unserious estimate of all that was female. She was just a sex symbol, dumb blonde. But what about her mind and heart? Yet she was forced to depend on the goodwill and recognition of men, even to be interpreted by them in movie, in magazine, before her death, after her death. It was always men who were writing about her. And strangely, she didn't trust women journalists. They felt that there would be some kind of sexual rivalry and they won't write nice things about her. So Gloria Steinem is an American feminist. In fact, she's one of the prime movers of the feminist revolution. She would be about 80 now. She feels that we are all her sisters, but she didn't know. This was the pre-feminist movement days. So these movements, maybe some people were theorizing about it, but women still thought in the conventional way, in the lines laid out by patriarchy. Women were defined by the male gaze, by patriarchy. They had to enact these pre-laid roles: sexual object, child bearer, home tender, designated to secondary positions, unless of course she's a goddess. So there is this pop star called Ella Fitzgerald, whom Marilyn Monroe had really helped when she was a struggling star. So women understood her. She said she was a woman ahead of her time, but she didn't know it. She didn't know it. So Gloria Steinem, the feminist, feels had times been different. This is just hypothetical. Could we have saved her? Could we have shown our sisterhood? We are all with you. We all feel the same way about women being treated like that. So that is the sad story. She had everything, but she did not have the vital thing, the self-esteem. And she was so insecure, she kills herself. So here, that was a happy story and a sad story to show you the importance of self-esteem, how it is important to empower women and bring out what's best in her. Do you have a little time? It's over? Okay, just one short story. Gloria Steinem, when she was a young struggling journalist, once she goes to interview a star in a Hotel Plaza in New York, and the manager comes and said, no unescorted females allowed. So she was wearing a trench coat and whatever she was wearing, and so she was a little frightened. She was very young, and she says, okay, I'll wait outside, and she goes out very sheepishly. She says, do I look like a prostitute? Is my trench coat too shabby? She's very wondering. And then a few days later, she realizes that a lot of women did some picketing in that very hotel. A month later, she has another interview, and this time she goes in and she's wearing the same French coat and the same thing. And the manager again says, unescorted ladies are not allowed. She turns around and says, but what about unescorted males? and you all have a cut. Prostitutes do visit this place. So is your cut being threatened? She accosted him. She looked him in the eye. And the manager simmered down, allowed her to go in, and she says, this is slightly autobiographical, she says that was a moment of rebellion. When you look a person back in the eye, that person simmers down. Just similar to the manner in which in the independence movement we stared back at the colonial powers and they were forced to reconsider our stand. I think that is all for women's empowerment. So what I meant was that that is the moment of discovery of self-esteem, which is so important.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your knowledge with us. It was indeed enlightening. Our chairperson today is Dr. Shampa Ghosh, Associate Professor, Department of English from College of Commerce. She is also a coordinator of the Department of Functional English there. Dr. Ghosh is a motivational and seasoned teacher with excellent academic record with 38 years of experience in the field of higher education. She is also a national resource person and recognized trainer developed by the Department of Personal Training, Government of India, to enhance capacity building in their states. Ma'am, I would request you to please come and address all of us.
Good afternoon, all of you. It is an honor and a privilege to be here, present today and yesterday also. Thank you, Father Prashant. Thank you, Mala. And thank you, the St.Xavier's family, for having me here. For inviting me to this seminar on a topic which is very close to my heart. I have my friends here to thank. The deliberations and the brainstorming on several aspects of the lives of women in the technical sessions of this seminar, we can safely say that women's empowerment is the process in which women elaborate and recreate what it is that they can be, do and accomplish in a circumstance that they were previously denied. Empowerment can be defined in many ways. However, when talking about the empowerment of women, it is generally implied acceptance and allowing people who are outside the decision-making process inside it. This puts strong emphasis on participation in political structures and formal decision-making and in the economic sphere and on the ability to obtain an income that enables participation in economic decision-making. Alternatively, it is the process for women to redefine gender roles that allow them to acquire the ability to choose between known alternatives who have been otherwise restricted from such an ability. The deliberations in the seminar threw up certainties which were really not so apparent at the outset. Many of the papers outlined the premise that for one to be empowered, they must come from a position of disempowerment. Furthermore, one must acquire empowerment themselves rather than have it thrust upon them by an external party. Empowerment is the process that creates power in the individuals over their own lives, society, and their communities. People are empowered when they are able to access the opportunities available to them without limitations and restrictions. The empowerment of women has become a significant topic of discussion in development and economics. It can also point to the approaches regarding other trivialized gender in a particular political or social context. Entire nations, businesses, communities and groups can benefit from the implementation of programs and policies that adopt the notion of women empowerment. Empowerment of women is a necessity for the very development of a society, since it enhances both the quality achieving gender equality is essential to ensure sustainable development in the country. Sustainable development accepts environmental protection, social and economic development, and political stability. Empowerment must include more choices for women to make on their own. Without gender equality and empowerment, the country could not be a just and social, and any sort of economic or social change just would not occur. Women empowerment can be measured through the Gender Empowerment Measure, the GEM, which shows women's participation in a given nation, both politically and economically. GEM is calculated by tracking the share of seats in parliament held by women, of female legislators, senior officials and managers, and of female professional and technical workers. It reflects the economic independence of the women in society. It's then given ranks according to the countries who give this information. Other measures that take into account the importance of female participation and equality include the Gender Parity Index, or the GPI, and the Gender Related Development Index, the GDI. Some critics of the GEM is that it is not concerned with factors regarding society, such as gender, religion, cultural contexts, legal contexts, and violation of women's rights. Gender empowerment measure attempts to make consistent, standardized approach to measure women's empowerment. In doing so, it has been criticized on the ground that it doesn't account for variation in historical factors, female autonomy, gender segregation, and women's right to vote. The Gender-Related Development Index is a way in which the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, measures the inequality between genders within a country. But because of GDI calculations rely solely on the achievement distribution between the males and the females of a population, GDI does not measure gender inequality. Rather, it measures absolute levels on income, education, and health. A more qualitative form of assessing women's empowerment is to identify constraints to action. This allows for the identification of power relations between genders. Because this is a participatory process, it facilitates conversation on gender discrimination. Comparing constraints on women at a later time also allows for any change or expansion to be better identified. The evaluation of the development of women's agency allows for an evaluation of actions taken. These assessments must also be based on the action taken by women and not external groups. External groups can help facilitate women's empowerment, but cannot bestow it on them. But sometimes these external groups help highlight those factors which the disempowered may not be aware of. In this context, I would like to share an experience which I had in the Sundarbans. While visiting the Sundarbans, I just saw a group of people collected in a place and there was some sort of play being enacted. I thought that maybe it is like the Nukkad Nataks. Nukkad Nataks are also a very important medium of imparting information and creating awareness in society. So much so that the government also sometimes uses Nukkad Nataks to spread the messages. So I just thought maybe one of the Nukkad Nataks, and out of curiosity, I just went and stood there and tried to see what was happening. What I saw was that a play was being enacted in which actor posing as a young girl was sitting in a chair, and a group of people depicting the groom's family were inspecting the girl, which is a very common scenario in rural India, where a girl is paraded before her would-be in-laws and they test her on different parameters like the lushness or the length of her hair, the way she walks, the fairness of her skin, and so on. And then next comes the behavioral patterns, whether she's looking at the elders directly in the eye, not allowed at all. So this sort of thing was going on. And then one of the actors, they walk onto the stage and they ask the audience, would you like this to happen? And then one woman, she jumped up. They were all rural people, fishermen and farmers, like that mind. One of the women, she was a middle-aged woman, she jumped up and she went and said, no, she went center stage and she said, no, this is not what it should happen. And then they said that you show us what should happen. Then the woman takes the place of that girl on the chair and she says that, why are you looking at me like a cattle? Am I to be sold? Am I a doll? Why are you looking at me? Now, mind you, this is a village woman saying this. She has grown up with this vision all her life. But she says, why are you looking at me? Am I something to be looked at? Then another middle-aged man, he went there and he gave a long lecture on what are the inequalities which exist in society. And they were all unprepared. It is not as if they had come prepared to speak. And then I realized that this is not a typical Nukkad Natak or a play in the real sense of the word. Because from there on it was a free-for-all. The director or the script writer had no say, and everyone came and had their say. And then when I asked the actors and the people concerned with the play, they told me that this was part of the Jan Jagriti program. And this is what is known as the theatre of oppression, which was first created by the Brazilian thespian Augusto Boal. And in India, it was incorporated by Sanjay Ganguly. He started this Jan Sanskriti in 1985. And since then, it had grown in numbers. And what they do, they go to different villages and they enact their plays. But it is not a set play in the real sense of the term because the spectators become the spect-actors. They are allowed to come on the stage and tell the story to whichever ending they want. And this has been such a successful model of empowerment because in the villages, what the pattern which they follow is that the group, they go to the same village for 3 months. Once every month, they stage the same play. And then they see how from the first play to the third play, how the vision of the people change. And sometimes when they cannot find solutions on the stage, as the people concerned with the group, they told me that they go back home and they think over it, and sometimes they are very disturbed that they cannot find a solution. And when they go back, so it becomes a way of life with them, and they bring out the solutions from within themselves. It is not a solution which has been imposed by the government. This method is so successful in rural Bengal that many research papers have been presented on this, people have worked on this. There's a very important paper which has been done by Jyotsna Jalan of CSSL and Maria Costa of the World Bank. They collaborated on this and they found that this is a very successful method of empowerment, where women, they think of their own problems, they come up with their own solutions, and then it can be incorporated in government policies, which is of course done. It is not that the government is not doing anything to empower women. Their steps have been taken to empower women at every level. The role cannot be denied. The role of the government in empowering women and to reduce the socio-economic gap cannot be undervalued. The government of India has implemented several schemes for the empowerment of women. Some of the several schemes for this have been implemented by the Ministry of Women and Child Development, and these include, we are all familiar with the different government schemes. The Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme, which focuses on eradicating female infanticide and education of the girl child. Then the Women Healthline scheme for providing 24 hours emergency support helpline for women who are subjected to any kind of violence or crime. The Ujjwala scheme to provide affordable fuel, saving women precious work hours in collecting firewood. Support to training and employment program for women, STEP, to impart skills to make them employable as well as to make them self-employed. They are given skills, imparted skills in agriculture, horticulture, fisheries, poultry raising, so that they can become economically independent, which leads to economic empowerment. Then there are reservations for women in the Panchayati Raj institutions. There are Mahila Shakti Kendras focusing on empowering rural women through community participation. There are many other schemes which the government takes up to empower women. What is now really needed is to create awareness. There are so many schemes, but there are people who do not know about these schemes. The target people, the target audience, the catchment area, they are the people who are very unaware of these schemes. So, the deliberations which we have in the seminars and conferences, we can now take it down to the ground level by creating awareness, by going to the villages, giving them information about the different schemes available, helping them to fill up the forms to avail of these schemes. So this is something which we can take up after the deliberations which we had in this seminar. So it has been a very fruitful 2 days for all of us, I'm sure. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your words. This national seminar on women empowerment was made possible by many hands, hearts, and minds working together. To express a word of appreciation and gratitude, may I now invite Dr. Anurag Ambasht, Assistant Professor, Department of English, St.Xavier College, Patna, to please come up on stage to propose a heartfelt vote of thanks. So, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Frederick Nietzsche once said, "The essence of all beautiful art, all great art, is gratitude." And therefore, I feel privileged to extend vote of thanks to all who have contributed in one way or the other to make this seminar a success. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely express my thanks to the chief guest of the valedictory session, Dr. Anuradha Sen, for taking time out of her very important schedules to be a part of this intellectual exercise. We also express our gratitude to Dr. Shampa Ghosh, chairperson of the valedictory session. I wish to thank the keynote speaker of the inaugural session, Dr. Professor Daisy Narayan, for the keynote address which really set the underlying tone of the seminar. The chairperson of the organizing committee, our principal, Father Professor Dr. T. Nishant S.J., our rector, Father Joseph Thadabanal S.J., Vice Principal, Father Dr. Martin Boris S.J., Controller of Examination, Dr. Sebastian Alphonse S.J., Administrator, Father Dr. Rajkumar S.J., have always been a source of inspiration. Your guidance and advices have been invaluable. We sincerely thank you from the core of our hearts. I thank Mr. Piyush Sahai for meticulously presenting the report of the technical sessions. I also extend my thanks to Dr. Nawab Akram and Dr. Bhavna Sinha for sharing their experiences of the seminar. My heartfelt thanks also go to the delegates and participants who presented papers and participated in the seminar. We acknowledge your contributions. Without you, it would not have been possible. I also wish to thank the students who attended the seminar and expressed their thoughts. What is decided here would have direct implications on your future. And the interest and enthusiasm you have shown is indeed a good sign for the future. A special thanks go to the organizing committee for conceptualizing and planning for their dexterous execution. We are also grateful to the anchors of the various sessions. A special mention needs to be made for the editors, for the members of the Sovereign Committee, Executive Committee, Decoration Committee, Reception Committee, Media Committee, and Hospitality Committee for their first day hotel. Thank is also due to the office and support staff for the smooth flow of the program. Last but not the least, let me express my sincere thanks to Ms. Deepika Tiwari for comparing the session and the members of the Department of Mass Communication for photography and videography. Thank you, St.Xavier.